Good day, everyone. Welcome to Media and Information Literacy. For our first lesson, I will be giving an introduction as to what this class or this course is going to be all about. For today's lesson, we will be discussing the different terms involved in media and information literacy, and that includes communication, media, information, and of course, technology. Aside from those things, we will also be talking about the similarities and differences between media, information, and technology literacy. Last but not the least, I will be talking about the different objectives of media and information literacy. Why do we have to study this particular class or course? What is its relevance to our lives and to the society that we are living in right now? Before we could even give an accurate description or a definition for media and information literacy, it is best that we first go back to our knowledge of what communication is all about. Because this particular concept, the idea, the concept of communication is relevant and is related to the topic of media and information literacy. So basically, all throughout the semester, we will be relating the concept of media and information literacy to what we know about communication. If you could still remember, in oral communication, we define communication based on the definition given by McCornack in 2014. And according to him, he described communication as the process of sharing and conveying messages or information from one person to another within and across channels, context, media, and cultures. So, in this definition alone, you would already notice that the words information and media are already included in the concept of communication. You also have learned that communication has many different kinds, but these are categorized into two major classifications. First is verbal communication, and the second is non-verbal communication. Let's just try to recall how we could differentiate the two. Verbal communication is described as an interaction in which we are using our words to relay a message through speech or with the use of our voices. On the other hand, nonverbal communication is described as an interaction where behavior is used to convey and represent meanings. Right now, you are probably wondering, how are the concepts of media, information, and technology related to communication? In order to better understand the connection between and among these concepts, let us also recall the process of communication. To simplify the process of communication, of course, you have your communicators, the speaker, and the receiver. To start the process of communication at the very beginning, the speaker would have that intention to share a piece of information, to share a piece of idea in the form of a message. Okay, now that message must be transmitted or must be relayed through a channel or what we also refer to as a medium. Once the speaker has already decided what the information is gonna be all about and what or how is he or she gonna transmit that particular message, then the process of communication will now start. Once transmitted, it will be received, of course, by the receiver. So now let us define the other terms involved. What is information? Information is simply described as process data and or knowledge derived from study, experience, instruction, signals, or symbols. So these are things that we gather from the world around us. These are learnings based on our experiences, based on our studies, based on what we could absorb from different sources. Media, on the other hand, is described as the channels or ways we use to transmit or communicate messages. In other words, or in simpler terms, we simply refer to media as communication tools. The last important term that we have to consider in the study of media and information literacy is technology, especially in the world that we are living in right now. Technology is described as the the application of scientific knowledge to the practical aims of human life or to change and manipulate the human environment. Basically, technology are advancements, developments brought about by time that help better the lives of humans. It often makes us work easier, understand things easier, learn easier, and so on and so forth. In short, it is development that aims to improve the quality of our lives. Let us now try to relate these three terms, these three important terms, to the concept of communication. Relating it to communication, information simply answers the question, what do we communicate? Again, these are the messages. These are the pieces of thoughts, ideas that we have, learnings that we have, knowledge that we have, that we try to relate to other people or transmit to other people. Media, on the other hand, in relation to communication, could answer the question, how do we communicate? How do we transmit these messages? In what way? What are the things or what are the ways that we are using to relay the messages that we want to relay? Technology, last but not the least, in relation to communication, could answer the question, what can we use to communicate better? What specific tools can we use? What specific developments in our society or improvements in our society could we use to communicate better or to improve the communication process in such a way as well that we could understand each other better? Another question that you probably have is, how does media, information, and or technology affect communication? Let's try to look at these examples. So right now, one of the most common ways of communicating is through text or via text. Now, take this one for example. You already have the information, you already have the message. However, you forgot to charge your phone. Okay, the phone is being used to transmit the message. It's the tool that you are using, it's the technology that you are using to communicate to other people. However, you forgot to charge your phone. So even if you already have the message, because of the disruption, because of that particular barrier to communication, you were not able to do so. Another very good example of this one is when we are considering the situation that we are in right now. So let's put it into context. Right now that we are experiencing an emergency health crisis or we are suffering through a pandemic, many of the schools have closed, correct? Because of this one, the schools have to continue, of course, education in such a way that we have to utilize technology. For example, in distance learning education, majority of the students are into online learning. So that would mean that they have to use specific gadgets such as laptops, their cell phones, their tablets, etc. However, not everyone has access to those resources. So what happens? Even if the information is there, not everyone could access them equally. Not everyone could access learning. Not everyone could access education right now because of those limitations. Additionally, with the advent of internet use, information is so vast right now. What does that mean? With a simple click of a button or with the touch of a finger, you would be presented with so many information. And sometimes those pieces of information are too much that you have to sift through them. You have to know how to identify which is useful for you and which is not. So take for example, on your social media accounts, there are a lot of those things that we often refer to as fake news. These are pieces of information that may not be truthful or maybe their messages have malicious intent. This is also the reason why it is very important for us if we really want to communicate better, especially with advent of technology and that amount of information that we have right now. It is necessary for us to learn about media and information literacy. That is the reason as well why we have this particular course or particular class. Before we proceed with what media and information literacy is really all about, let us try to define the terms that are connected to this particular concept. Let us first define what literacy is. Literacy, if you would look into the dictionary and in other books, it is simply described as our ability to identify, understand, interpret, communicate, and compute using printed and written materials associated with varying content. So you would notice that it involves the skills of reading and writing. It often involves the skills of reading and writing. That's our very basic concept of literacy. If you call someone literate, then that means that he or she knows at the very basic level how to read and write. However, according to UNESCO in 2004 and then reiterated in 2017, literacy involves a continuum of learning, meaning it's not ending with the simple processes of reading and writing. It doesn't end at knowing how to read and write. Literacy must also help us become better members of the society. And how do we do that? According to UNESCO, literacy must enable individuals to, number one, achieve their goals. Second, to develop the knowledge that they already have and the potential that they already have. And of course, last but not the least, to become fully participative in the community and the wider society. Now, what is information literacy? Information literacy is described as your ability to recognize when information is needed and to locate, evaluate, effectively use, and communicate information in its various format. Meaning, when you are presented with information or when you have access to information, do you know what to do about it? Do you know how to utilize it? Do you know how to maximize the power of information? Now, let's put it into context. For example, you are already working and in the workplace, you somehow overheard some other people talking about a certain issue in your work. Now, you have that information. You were able to hear, absorb that information. But what are you gonna do about it? What if that information is something that is bad? What if you know already that that piece of information is not true or is not factual? So what are you gonna do about it? That is information literacy. Media literacy is simply described as our ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and communicate information that is given in a variety of information, could be received, could be picked up from many different forms or types, including print and non-print messages. Media literacy is also described as our ability to synthesize or summarize, then produce mediated messages. So media literacy involves how well do we understand, how well can we maximize information that is presented to us in different medium or formats. So take for example, if you want to listen to the news or if you want to get some information about a particular news topic, where is it better to acquire the news? Is it from news TV shows or in television news shows? Or is it better to just scroll through Facebook to get the information that you want? Similarly, it would also include how well we are presenting the information through different medium or format. Take this for example. What if you are the source of information? How are you going to transmit that information? Would you post it on Facebook? Would you post it somewhere else? Would you just say it to your friends out loud using your words, using your speech? Would you write a letter about it? And so on and so forth. Those basically are concepts under media literacy. Technology literacy, on the other hand, involves skills to responsibly use appropriate technology in order for you to access, synthesize, evaluate, communicate, and create information to solve problems and improve learning in all subject areas or in any profession or field. Simply put, it is your ability to maximize technology. It is your ability to use or utilize and maximize the potential of technology and technological advancements that are available to you. Again, let's put it into context. Take Take, for example, in a classroom, I am a teacher and I have many different tools, technological tools. But if I do not know how to use them, if I do not know how to operate them, then even if I am a good teacher and I'm gonna use those pieces of technology, it will be pointless because I might not be able to maximize the potential of those things, of those gadgets. Knowledge of technology, or at the very least, how to operate them at the most basic level, an understanding of how they work, is already a form of technology literacy. Why? Because knowledge of how things work would enable us to use them or maximize them. Now, how are we going to describe media and information literacy? According to the Moscow Declaration on Media and Information Literacy in 2012, MIL is actually a combination of knowledge, attitudes, skills, and practices, meaning there are many different things involved in MIL. And it is required for us to access, analyze, evaluate, use, produce, and communicate information and knowledge, not only in a creative manner, but also in legal and ethical ways that respect human rights. So it's responsibly using media literacy, information literacy, and technology literacy. All the things that we know about those three concepts, we combine them in order to have or to be media and information literate. Similarly, UNESCO also emphasized in 2016 that media and information literacy is essential because having media and information literacy or possessing MIL actually helps us to become better members of the society that we are living in right now. You might ask yourself, how does it enable us to become better members of the society? Number one, it helps us to contribute information and media content wisely. We learn proper discernment in terms of using information and media. We also become aware of our very own rights, especially our rights when we deal with things online. Similarly, there are certain issues that we learn how to deal with. We learn how to process those issues because we have a good understanding of what those issues are about and how we could combat or fight those things. Last but not the least, MIL helps us engage with media and different forms of technology in order to promote equality, free expression, intercultural and interreligious dialogue, peace, etc. It is also very important to reiterate that media and information literacy is a big umbrella term. It is a huge umbrella term that under it, there are other many different concepts involved. For example, even cultural diversity is part of media and information literacy. Now, why do we have to study media and information literacy, and why do we need to possess that particular skill? MIL, or media and information literacy, gives people an understanding of the importance of media and other information providers in order for us to, number one, make informed decisions, know how to critically decide on things. Next, it also helps us learn about the world around us. Third, with everyone possessing media and information literacy, we could easily build a sense of community. Why? Because it would be easier for us to connect with one another. Because communication is going to improve as well. When we communicate better, we can connect with many different people and there would be good understanding between and among us. It is also essential in maintaining public discourse, public communication, how we communicate with the general public, how do we communicate with a large group of people and other members of the society. And last but not the least, MIL also help us in engaging in lifelong learning. Because of MIL, learning becomes continuous. You could easily access information that would contribute to your understanding of the world and to your development as a person in many different aspects of your life. Similarly, MIL also spurs its citizens to become active producers of information, meaning we become good sources of information. We contribute to the field, we contribute to the body of knowledge that we have or currently possess right now. Additionally, we also become innovators of media and information products. We get to develop new things. And last but not the least, we also get to be critical thinkers. Another objective of MIL is that it also incites people to use new and traditional media for self-expression, creativity, and greater participation, not only in their immediate community, but also in the bigger society that they are involved in or they are part of. Could be their country, or it could even be the global network. Here are my sources and references for today's discussion. Thank you for joining me